Hello, my name is Fiona Freemuth. I'm a senior at Patrick Henry High School. My project is the efficacy of cigarette filters. Do they reduce nicotine consumption? What inspired me to do this project is my Oma, also known as my grandma. She's a lifelong smoker. It's really hard for her because she's developed COPD. It's hard to talk to her on the phone because she constantly goes into coughing fits or starts wheezing. But despite all that, she says cigarette filters are keeping her healthy. So I looked into the history of cigarette filters. I found ads, like behind me, suggesting that cigarette filters reduce harmful substances. According to the tobacco in Australia, they say that smokers perceive that these filter innovations may reduce harm and increases the appeal. So I want to see whether or not cigarette filters do reduce harmful substances. Now, it's not just my Oma who smokes. Ohio actually ranks sixth in the nation of smokers, and those numbers are concerning. So I just want to see simply, do cigarette filters reduce harmful substances or not? My hypothesis for my project is that there will be a minor difference in a cigarette filter and its effectiveness on the latent residue collected on a smoker's lungs. My independent variable was the type of filter, while my dependent variable was the percentage of nicotine, the color of gauze, and the weight of gauze. My control throughout the whole project was the length to which the cigarette filter was burned to. In order to do my project, I purchased 7 common filters, one of them being unfiltered. Then I constructed a cigarette simulator. Let's call it our artificial lung. I used an air mattress pump, a wooden crate, and gauze to collect the residue from one single cigarette. Let's talk about the 7 filters that I bought. Now, one of them is unfiltered. As you can see here, all of these are actually cellulose acetate, just with additives. This one is slimmer. This one here has an additive of charcoal. The recessed has a hollow tip. The tar block is just another cellulose acetate filter, but with a tar block extender. The crushed one has a crushed menthol in the center, and the firm filter is just a cellulose acetate filter, but compacted, firm. After constructing my artificial lung, I went to the University of Toledo to weigh the gauze before and after to see how much residue was collected. I got assistance from Dr. Egley to use a USDA approved scale, which is very, very precise. Then I came home and I ran each of the 7 cigarette filters 5 times. One cigarette was used for one piece of gauze. Then I went back to the University of Toledo and I worked with Dr. Young. Dr. Young assisted me with using a GCMS machine. I took 10 microliters of ethanol and I diluted the sample of residue, inserted it into the machine, waited 6 minutes, and the machine would tell me the results of the chemicals on the residue as well as the percentage of nicotine which I was focusing on. Now let's look at my results. According to the GCMS machine, it shows me the percentage of nicotine. As you see here, there's a negligible difference between each cigarette filter. Then with the UMX2, which is the USDA approved scale, which is precise to the millionth microgram, you can also see that there is as well a negligible difference. Let's look at the main graph that shows what my findings are. Let's look at the nicotine and residue comparison. Here you will see the GCMS and the UMX2 compare data. As you would expect, the non-filtered here is going to have a lot more residue and compared to the nicotine, which is represented by the dark blue. But when we compare it to the other cigarettes across the board, there is a little effect given by the filter. The GCMS should find that there is a higher quantity of nicotine in comparison to other substances. But when we compare them across the board, you can see that the line doesn't change much. That means the filter is not effective on any cigarette. See, how would you explain this findings to somebody like Myoma? Well, I saw a YouTube video where a doctor cut open a smoker's lung and a non-smoker's lung, and he particularly looked at the color. I wanted to do the same thing here. I used a piece of gauze instead. I used a color ID app and I took the picture of a center of the gauze to identify the color. Now, the darker it is, the more tar and residue and gunk was collected, which means it wasn't really effective. But the lighter it is, the more effective it was. You can see here, there is a minor difference. With my results in mind, let's look back into my hypothesis. I hypothesized that there would be a minor effect with a cigarette filter. And I was right. Cigarette filters do have a minor effect. So, people like my Oma who smokes, I would say that no matter what, if you have a filter or no filter, you are still being introduced to harmful substances. Now, I would love to go furthermore into this study. For instance, this was solely a qualitative study. I'd like to go and do a quantitative study and collect more data. Another thing I would like to do is go to a higher institute that solely studies the chemicals within a cigarette. I would like to identify each chemical and see how that leads to COPD and lung cancer. Thank you very, very much for listening to my presentations. If you have any further questions, you know how to reach me.